king of sports books comes the king of sports podcasts. Unleashed. Presented by BetMGM. Here's your hosts, Jerry Ferrara and Olivia Harlan Dekker.
All right, well, Jerry, we thought the craziest video we'd ever see of Antonio Brown was running off the field, flipping off the crowd mid-game. We were wrong. Oh my God, what a week in sports. Welcome to Unleashed. Jerry, how you doing?
For someone, you could maybe say it's unhinged. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, that was definitely an interesting way to start off the NFL viewing week for sure. Antonio Brown, man, I just guess he's living his best life. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people are saying he had a better D than the Detroit Lions. Oh, whoa. Let's move on. She said it. So I got to tell you that in London last week, the vibes were incredible.
Yeah.
Just Vikings fans, I got to say, outnumbered Saints fans. It really seemed like everywhere I walked, I saw purple. My husband kept yelling, "Go Pack, go" to people. And they just turn around like all miffed. You know, people are like, who's that asshole?
Right. He's going to get into a London boxing match with a Brit. That would be really interesting, Sam. Don't do that.
Yeah. But it's cool because we went to this one bar that's right in this awesome area of town. For people who've been to London, it's right by Borough Market and London Bridge. It's called the Banker and the Barrow Boy or something like that. But it's like the NFL bar for all these games. And I went with my friend, Jamie Erdahl. She is the host of Good Morning Football, NFL Network. Yep. And I went to meet her at the set. We hung out. We got to see the crew, Peter Schrager. I brought the baby. He was loving it. It was really cute. And then we walked to this Vikings bar because she's a big Vikings fan. She was working sideline of that game if you were watching the game. And she's just great person. Really, really excited to have gotten to see her out here. And we go to this Vikings bar, and every time they did the skull chant, skull, my baby, like the loyal Packer fan he is, just started crying like crazy. He was hating this moment. Like, I had to bring him outside of the bar because, you know, the Vikingism was getting to him.
So is there no chance, like, he's a Packer fan, meaning like the Chiefs blood doesn't run it? Like, I know you could maybe handle two teams. You're well-rounded, you're calm, you know, maybe, what if he likes the Chiefs? What if Mahomes 5 years from now, when he maybe starts his watching football, still slinging it, and he's like, Mom, Dad, I love Patrick Mahomes. Go Chiefs. You can't get mad at him.
No, and you know what's going to be funny is, like, me growing up was Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Again, my grandpa worked in the front office for the Green Bay Packers. My dad still calls preseason games before he starts his network NFL season. I've done Packer preseason games and worked Packer training camp. Like, we are Packer people. My husband, I don't think has ever missed a game in his life, including when he's lived in Russia and Turkey. Like, we are obsessed. However, if Jordan loves the future of the Packers, I have a hard time thinking my son, as he grows up, is going to get like really into the Packers. You know what I mean? Whereas Patrick Mahomes, kids love Patrick Mahomes.
And that's how it happens, as we know, as if Steph Curry's taught us anything with the young kids, is that, and my nephew who's 13 now, they kind of fall for the player, not necessarily the team, right? Like, that's
Joe
why.
Burrow.
Right. So, you know, there's very possible our kids might just root for the team that their favorite player's on. That didn't go on in my day. In my day, you pick a team. And if you just stuck with the players that you have, you can't just hedge and say, go Warriors, I love Steph Curry. So it's listen, if this podcast lasts for like 3 or 4 or 5 years, we're going to have some very interesting fanhood conversations with our kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially when yours become Deshaun Watson fans.
I just can't handle Browns and Knicks. What kind of father am I if my son roots for the Browns and the Knicks? I'm basically setting him up for therapy.
Oh, it's horrible.
They need therapy.
I'll send them little Deshaun Watson jerseys for Christmas.
Don't you dare.
Oh my God. But no, it's really fun. I'm so excited. We record this on Tuesday. So now the slew of Packer fans are getting to town, and Giants. I'll let you know next week what I felt like I saw more of. But I am going back to the same bar because the bar owner told me oh yeah, we're just switching everything over next week to green and gold. And then the Broncos, it's also going to be the Broncos home bar end of the season. See, this is why I'm on the show. I'm investigative journalist.
How do they pick whose team? Right now, they're a very NFC North heavy bar. Why? How do they pick? Why can't it be a Giants bar next week? Why does it have to be a Packers bar?
I don't know. I know that the Giants will also have like a team bar. It's like where they're doing pep rallies and whatnot. All I know
this
is
bar is 1-0. This bar is 1-0. It'd be really interesting if this bar, for bettors out there, goes Packers and the Packers win and cover. You got to sort of track this bar's picks then. Maybe this bar is the person who runs the bar is the only person who could pick. I will say, as a team who the Giants who don't really have a home field advantage, in my opinion, I just think it's hard to go watch games at MetLife. It's hard to get to. It's hard to leave. It's harder to get into the seat. It's longer to get into your seat than actually watch the game. I don't think the Giant fans are going to really travel to London, but on TV, it looked like they were having way more of a good time in London than anyone who goes to MetLife Stadium. just one guy's opinion who hasn't been to a football game in 5 years.
Oh, first of all, we got to change that. I tried to get you to come to this one, but from New York, are you kidding? You have no excuse. Getting New York to London is like New York to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing. So those Giants fans who want to travel and support their team, and obviously, probably expensive plane ticket, but come on. I mean, and for Packer fans travel really well. And Packers like the Steelers, and who else would we throw in this mix? Who are like international brands. Which is kind of ironic.
Cowboys for sure.
Cowboys,
Steelers
100%,
for sure.
Yep.
You could say the Niners for sure. Raiders, I think Raiders are international. Maybe? No? I mean, I'm looking at those teams that were like, all right, back in the day, there was only 4 teams on TV. It was like the Steelers, Cowboys, Raiders, Lions, Bears, I guess. Bears have that.
Yeah. But I do think there's going to be
traveling to watch the Bears.
Packer turnout. I think this is going to be exciting. But, the NFL has had 31 games played in London, which I thought it was less than that. So good for the NFL. This is the 32nd game played in London. But get this, Jerry. It's the first time 2 teams with a winning record are playing over here. Isn't that wild?
Well, it's wild, but no, I think it's very accurate. That's data that we've all known. We've been serving arguably the worst, if not second worst game of the week for these London games, and all they've done is embrace it and love it and cherish when these games are played. So I'm happy they're getting 2 winning teams. I'm shocked that my team is one of the winning teams. Do you know what the Giants' record is in London?
In London, I don't.
2-0. Undefeated in London. Let's go.
We're going to talk more about that. I mean, here we are talking the whole episode about this. We knew this was happening, folks. We knew this week, regardless if it was in London or whatever, was going to be big. But I think we should place a little friendly wager on this one later on the show.
Oh, sounds good. I'm always up for that.
Okay. No, I'm so excited going to the game. My mom's in town for the game. My mom, by the way, if you want to go back to an NFL game for the first time in 5 years, Jerry, go with my mom. No one embraces the culture and the NFL and the tailgating and the post-game party and the pre-game party and the halftime party like my mama. She is fantastic game fan.
I'm down. That's what I need to go back to. I have a theory with going. I like going to football games. Not my first sport. Basketball to me will always be like the number 1 sport to go watch in person.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, because it's quick and it's easy to watch, and you seem like a guy who, you're not in it for the long haul. I don't want to sit in a seat and be freezing cold. And I like East Coast teams. I'm sorry. I don't want to be, and I married a woman from the Midwest. I don't want to be freezing cold in my seat. I'm sorry. Call me soft, whatever you want to say. That's just the way it is. Oh, then you would hate at Lambeau, it's metal bleachers, like it's not seats.
I'm good. I'll go in September.
Newspaper. You have to sit on newspaper.
I'll go September. I'll go to their week 2 game next year.
Speaking of that, this Packers game this past weekend against the Patriots, gorgeous day. Did you see how beautiful that looked on TV? And unfortunately, people should have gone home earlier than they did.
Gorgeous day, not gorgeous football. I mean, I don't know what to make of the Packers this year. I think they're good. I just don't know. are they going to be trustworthy when you start getting down to late season and playoff games? Like we know Aaron Rodgers is trustworthy. Are these receivers going to be trustworthy? Is the defense? I mean, you could tell too. Sorry, I don't know if Belichick looked so happy to be coaching in a game where like this is like straight out of 1985. We're going to run the ball 400 times. We're going to like. He just looked happy to be coaching this weird game without having a quarterback.
I know. Speaking of kind of unpredictable end, how did you do betting wise this week? I feel like you've had a couple dogs lately.
No, well, I'm losing the parlays. I'm hitting the teasers. I went against what I was doing. I've been doing 10-point 3-team teases, right? And I've won 3 weeks in a row on those. This week, I got a little cocky and I said, you know what? I'm going to knock it down and get the better odds. I'm going to knock it down to like a 7-point tease. And I hit 2 other, and I had the Panthers +8, and they lost by 10. If it would have been a 3-team tease, they would have been +11. So my thing is like, just keep the 3-team teases, 10-point teases coming. Don't knock the points down. I'm doing okay. This past weekend was a little rough. Definitely didn't hit, but my Giants won, which kept me happy. But usually I have the teams that I love to bet against, year in, year out. And we've talked about this on this show before. Who are the worst? Who are the bottom 3 NFL teams? Meaning like you see them, that's always where your eye as a bettor goes to. Like it used to be like, who are the Jags playing? Or who are the Texans playing? I don't think you could say that anymore. The Jags are up 14-0 in Philly and then all hell broke loose.
I mean, we talked last week about parity and it's interesting. Bottom 3 teams. Look, our Raiders
I think I have my bottom 3. And I thought
Raiders
about
getting
this.
their first win, but I mean, the Broncos looked bad.
Terrible.
I mean,
and they lost their best running back. The only one they have that doesn't fumble. I think you have to put the Steelers in the bottom 3. Even with Pickett.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is there a way we can't put those Lions on the bottom 3 after watching that defense?
America's sweetheart.
Hard Knocks is over. It's old news. We fell in love. I'm on Ross St. Brown's amazing. If he's not like, God, I love the offense. That defense is bad. Maybe I got them there. And I'm sorry. I think it's the Commanders are on a fast track to be in the bottom 3.
I'll raise you Carolina Panthers. So bad.
Well, you know what?
Did you see Stephen A. Smith's rant on Baker Mayfield? That was cool.
I will say, maybe if I can't find the teams that I always like to fade, I think maybe like kids rooting for their favorite players, I think you maybe start finding your quarterback to fade, and maybe that's Baker Mayfield.
I know. God, he's struggling. He really is. I don't know why I always feel bad. I don't care who it is. Like I feel bad when I see a quarterback, especially a quarterback, because they get the highest of the highs, but man, do they get dogged when they start failing. And Baker's had no grace. Like no one shows Baker any grace. Not saying he deserves it, but I mean, even if he was like, had at least 1 win, 2 wins, like I just feel like everyone's going to give him a hard time. He's a guy people want to see fail. And I think that's really fair.
I think people root for him to fail also because of the number 1 pick thing. I don't think that did him any favors in a way, although it's a huge honor. And you could say at the time it was deserving, you know. Yeah. I think right there that maybe was the start of like, you know, you're the number 1 pick. You're the best. You know, I don't know. I don't know if that it's all situational. And also sorry, Cleveland, I love you. Being a part of the Browns with the rotating head coaches and before Stefanski and the rotating offensive coordinators and, you know, not really the best situation to be in for any young player to start their careers. It's all situational.
So you mentioned Pittsburgh earlier, and I was thinking about that. I was excited. Sam and I were sitting here watching, and we go, "Oh my God, he's going in! He's going in!" I think everyone was because it's a great story. You know, he played his college ball there. Fans were cheering for him. It's great. Did you know that the Steelers are 0-7 without TJ Watt? So
I did not know that.
He's serviceable. Kenny Pickett, I mean, he had 2 rushing touchdowns pretty quickly. And his 3 picks, I don't think, tell the whole story. 1 was a Hail Mary. I mean, it's whatever. It looks worse on paper than it was in the game. He definitely changed the energy. I thought he was exciting, but I mean, they need TJ Watt back. My God. And their schedule coming up. Sorry, Jerry, but it's tough sledding at Bills, at Dolphins, at Eagles. That's all in the next 4 weeks. And somewhere in between there is TB12 at home. So
yeah, I'm sorry.
Good luck to you, Kenny Pickett.
I know tanking when basketball was frowned upon. They tried to fix it, and maybe they did fix it a little bit. And I know tanking in football, can't say it hasn't happened. If anyone should maybe kind of say, it is too early to give up, but with this hellish schedule they have coming up, and if it doesn't go their way with a rookie core, it can't be Trubisky. If it's Trubisky playing, you're just waiting for Pickett to be ready. Obviously, that's not the answer long term. Getting some draft value is probably a good thing, especially if Watt's going to miss some time. The sucky thing is, Mike Tomlin is a championship coach. I don't want to see a Mike Tomlin team rebuild. I just don't want to see it. I mean, I know he can do it. I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. I love Mike Tomlin. That's like one of my dream coaches for the Giants. But he never left Pittsburgh. I don't want to see him rebuild. I want to see him like competing for a championship. He's so good.
Yeah, but better to see someone like Mike Tomlin, who's young and cool and hip, rebuild than like Pete Carroll. Like when they got rid of Russ, and everyone's like, or Bill Belichick. Exactly. These guys can't rebuild. Come on.
Yeah, do they? And I'm surprised they want to. I don't know. I don't know. I just think at some point you've done everything there is to do. I'm not saying like you don't love the job. Maybe they just love being around the guys and the camaraderie of a football team, and maybe that's
they can't quit.
You know,
ask Giselle Bundchen. These guys can't quit.
I just don't want to watch the Steelers. I don't want to watch Tomlin rebuild because I just love watching that dude in the playoff. You give him time to prepare for a team, it's almost automatic.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation at dinner tonight was why do old football coaches and old politicians not just go sit on a boat somewhere? Freaking retire. Go enjoy all the fruits of your labor. These people are so rich and choose the most demanding, arduous professions.
I could tell you who is not going to do that is going to be an old actor if he has enough money named Jerry Ferrara. You won't see me again. Out.
Yeah, amen. Amen.
Done. You will not see me again.
You'll be on a boat.
I'm somewhere. I won't be on screen. You won't see me again.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Something else from this weekend that was such a huge storyline going into week 4 was the big meeting, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and will the MVP odds change it all? Because those two going head to head, someone was going to come out on top. And what a weird game. Josh Allen leads the biggest comeback of his career. They were down 20-3. They go on a 20-0 run. And really different from last week. They led time of possession 40-20. Ravens led 40-20 last week in Miami. Bills led 40-20. So weird. So I don't even know, does time of possession even matter? But the craziest thing, Jerry, was that the odds did not change going into week 4 for Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson for MVP. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it was justifiably so because the game itself, it didn't sway me one way or the other about how I felt about their MVP chances in that game. I think if anything, I get their odds staying the same, and Jalen Hurts is officially on that watch of, if they continue to win these games and their record's going to be impressive and he's leading the league in rushing touchdowns, that's who I'm watching. But the Ravens really got to, at one point, Olivia, I think almost every, if not every single game was within one score, midway or late third quarter. I don't know if I've ever seen games that are just that close. The Ravens got to figure out how to play with a lead. Seriously. And I don't know what the deal is. They have running back. I don't know. They're now blowing some leads, and those two games really might haunt them down the road. They're lucky they're in the North.
Amen. Okay, well, in addition to the NFL, we're going to preview the MLB postseason with former MLB pitcher, the Knuckleball Ace and Cy Young winner, R.A. Dickey, will be joining us. We'll get his World Series prediction, Jerry, and if he thinks his former team, the Mets, can make a run here. And then your Yankees, will teams even pitch to Aaron Judge in the postseason? I definitely want to get his take on that one. And I think you've got a couple thoughts on postseason, right?
Yeah, listen, I hate to make this my unleashed for this week, but I think I have to. We're talking to R.A. Dickey. The Mets just had a collapse. Baseball playoffs are going to start. So what better time than now?
It's time to unleash
Look, I think of myself as a baseball purist. I don't love all the changes, but they've really opened my eyes with expanding the playoff amount of teams and all that. I do think that's good for baseball, and we're going to ask R.A. Dickey about that. So let's go a step further. If we're going to throw out all the stuff and just bring in all this new stuff. Baseball. Why? Now, look, I love baseball games in October. Now, we are going to have games in Cleveland and New York, and we might be going to get some really, really bad weather. Not always the best for playoff baseball. Why are we still right on the NFL's corner when if you just maybe cut out 35 games from the regular season, keep adding playoff teams, slide the playoffs back up into August, and end the season, World Series, Game 7, just post Labor Day. I know baseball traditionalists are going to roll their eyes and probably scream at me when they see that in the street. Tell me if the World Series wasn't on Game 1 wasn't September 1st, you're not making that like appointment television as opposed to, when is it going to be? Is Thursday night football going to be a problem and Sunday night football? Like there's just too much competition. I don't know why we have to pair it up with everything going on in the NFL. People are getting super psyched for basketball. I love baseball. I think it deserves its own month for the playoffs and World Series. Cut down the regular season games. Give me more playoff teams. Give me more playoff games like you're already doing and end it by Labor Day. End it by Labor Day. You'll own the month of August. You will own the month of August.
No, I get it. August is like the slowest month in sports. I like it. I'm with you on that take. We talk a lot about programming, you and me, because we always are questioning why sports are scheduled the way they are. Like your ice cold Super Bowl Saturday pick. But yeah, I'm with you on that one.
That was a great take. You're coming. You liked it. You liked that take. All right.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, I've got to transition because I think you and I should do a friendly wager for our two teams facing off in London. I can't wait. I'm going to the game. And this is going to be my Unleashed because I think the Packers right now are an 8-point favorite. And Giants, we still don't know about Daniel Jones. He's still murky, I think was the headline I just read. I'm a little worried about your defense. They're pretty gnarly. 5 sacks in the first half last week. They only had 3 coming into the game. So I'm worried about how the Packers O-line is going to hold up. As David Bakhtiari still gearing up. Elton Jenkins on the right side has been struggling. But overall, I think Packers tip to tail are a better team. I like them to cover. I'm nervous about that, though. But they're a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. And the Giants are in bottom 3rd offense and defense. But I also would urge our bettors, take the under. Because the Packers are struggling to score. We obviously are seeing that. And it's been their lowest scoring total in 4 games. Since 2006.
Oh.
So, take the under, but take the Packers to cover. At least take the Packers money line if you're not as confident. And with that, Jerry, let's like a friendly wager. This doesn't have to be intense and no money. So what do you think? What's something that we can bet against each other?
Well, it's something we should try to do on this podcast. And it's something, Look, I do believe you're going to win. I'm going to go full reverse psychology on you and try to reverse jinx you the way Peter Andreu
Don't
jinxed
do that.
me.
Don't do it.
Look, couple of things. The Giants, who have given me so much joy this year, we're banged up. I mean, first of all, Tyrod Taylor should just give that guy, like, he should sue everybody. He's got the worst luck of any quarterback, and he's a very, very talented quarterback. Like, I don't know. Someone got to take care of that guy. He just wants to play. But I mean, we might not. Saquon Barkley might be our quarterback. Thibodeau might still be hurt. Ojulari might still be hurt. Anytime Kadarius Toney wants to play football, I'm ready. Kenny Golladay might be hurt. Big loss there. Real big loss. I'm getting the 8 points, right? Come on, Olivia. Come, what do we do? All right. How about this? Because I do think how about in honor of the cheesehead thing, the loser has to, on this podcast, for a good amount of the time, wear a piece of cheese that the winner gets to select.
Are we just doing money line? Flat out winner.
Fine. I mean, you really want me to put cheese on my head? Fine.
Yeah. Okay, loser has to wear cheese, real cheese, on their head next week for the entire recording of Unleashed. And, okay, the winner can choose the variety, right? There's a lot of different
Wait a minute. Isn't the guest like Kevin Garnett next week?
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
All right, can I at least take it off for the guest interview? Please, come on. I'm giving you money line. I'm giving you money line. That's more than fair. I'm giving you money line. I could take the 8 points.
I was just looking at
You're looking at the guests. Could you at least no cheese for the guest?
Fine. No cheese for the guest.
Okay.
But the winner really gets to pick the cheese.
Yes.
And that does not leave out anything that is liquid. So think of queso, think about fondue. You've got to think about sprinkled cheese.
I don't like where this is going, and I will agree to this now. But okay. I hope the reverse jinx works right now, because then you are in for it, because you're being mean right now. You really are. You know you're gonna win, and you're messing with me right now. All right, our guest today, just like the knuckleball, he took a very interesting path to becoming a Cy Young Award winner, and for a stretch, he was one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball history. He pitched back-to-back one-hitters while he's with the New York Mets, and he recorded 120 career wins. R.A. Dickey is here. Okay, all right, so look, you retired in 2017, not that long ago. I need to know, when is the last time you threw a knuckleball? You keeping the arm loose these days?
Yeah, I'm limbered up, man. I threw a knuckleball yesterday to my son. He's 16 and we play catch, and I hit him in the knee with it. It's still good.
Oh,
like he went to catch it and it bounced off his knee. So I know I still got it in there. I might be making a comeback when I'm about 50, when my kids are out of the house.
So if for instance the Mets made an emergency call, how many innings do you think you could eat up right now? And the Mets could have used you this weekend, I could tell you that. If they made an emergency call, what do you how many innings, like right now, tomorrow, could you go if you had to?
I think I could probably go 3. You know, I'm not in baseball like endurance shape, but I could get through 3, you know, because I don't have to be at max effort with that pitch. You know, I can throw it at 60 miles an hour and have it dance around and guys swing and miss. So I don't have to get my arm like fully in shape. But to be a starter, I need a month.
Oh my! But 3 innings still. I mean, I'm dead serious. I really think the Mets would have loved nothing more than to pull you out of the bullpen against the Braves. What is it about the knuckleball? And I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but like, why don't we see more guys try? Is it just that difficult to master, which it seems like? And it's like the mystical pitch. It really is.
Yeah, you know, it is. There is some, you know, I joke all the time with people that I had the good fortune of getting to work with, you know, Phil Necro and Tim Wakefield and all those guys. I call them like the Jedi Council of knuckleballers. I mean, there is something very mysterious about that pitch that causes it to move around like it does. And to answer your question, you know, I think one of the reasons that you don't see more guys doing it now is, yes, it is very difficult to do, but you also have to have people that have a stomach for it. And I don't know in this generation if you've got a front office that has the patience to deal with, you know, a catcher running to the backstop because the ball's rolling around, or a guy walking 3 or 4 guys in an inning, or they're looking for the next Steven Strasburg. They're not looking for the next Hoyt Wilhelm, you know? I mean, it's interesting.
Are there any types of hitters that especially see knuckleballs well, or is it just as unpredictable for them as it was for you?
Well, I'd like to say that, you know, it was immune to all types of swings and types of hitters, but I think the reality is there were certain guys that were really good at going to the opposite field that gave me fits. Like I could face Aaron Judge and Mike Stanton all day. Like that was good. A-Rod, those guys. But it's the little kind of natty guys that are okay taking their single to right field that gave me all kinds of trouble. And if you have a guy like Freddie Freeman, for instance, who probably has, you know, a career 600 average against me, he's good at both. Like he likes going the other way and he's got power. So he was double trouble for me. So when I got signed to the Braves, he was the first guy to call me, and he was so disappointed because he wanted to keep facing me, right. I think.
So I'm a Yankee fan, but obviously I had a great deal of respect watching you pitch for the Mets. And I'm not a Met hater. I like to give my Met fans a little bit of a hard time, my friends. But I do want to ask you this, because this is a debate we always had. You know, you go back to that Aaron Boone walk-off home run in the series against the Red Sox off of Wakefield. Now, the origin of that was Boone was essentially benched. He was in one of the worst slumps any Yankee has ever had. Now, my friends always suggest that Aaron Boone hit that home run because he was slumping and like bat speed wise, almost like you said, like he almost just took the knuckleball and just did whatever he could with it. He wasn't trying to rear back. Like, is there anything to that? Not saying like a guy slumping is more prone to hit a knuckleball, or is it just right place, right time for Aaron Boone?
Well, I'll say there's no pitch that's more difficult to hit in baseball than a perfectly thrown knuckleball. And there's no easier pitch to hit than a poorly thrown knuckleball. Right. And so I think it was just it was a combination of Tim, and Timmy will tell you, that he kind of rolled one up there. It was probably about, 70 mile an hour BP ball, because if that ball rotates just even a full rotation, it's going to straighten out and turn into the easiest BP that you could possibly hit. I mean, you could probably hit one out on it. So, I think it was a kind of a combination of both, like right guy, right time. And he threw a clunker up there that got crushed,
Now, I don't know if you were messing with this or not. Like, in your mind, and I'm always asking professional athletes this after retirement, because retirement's a tricky thing for anybody. You do something for so long at such a high level and then not having that in your life. Like if you watch a baseball game today, do you always get those feelings of, I could go back out there. I got more left.
Yeah. That's a great insight. I think that really a guy who, regardless of the sport that he's played, if he's played it for most of his life, and I played professionally for 21 years, so it's the only life I really ever knew, or my wife for that matter, and to learn that dynamic of how to do life apart and together and then apart and then together for 21 years takes a lot of skill. And then all of a sudden you're thrust in this petri dish of being next to each other all the time and who's in charge. Like that's a difficult thing for anybody. And so that took some real getting used to. But to answer your question, when I watch baseball, I really don't follow. I follow friends now more than teams. I mean, I grew up a Braves fan because I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but I still have really close friends that play. And when I watch them play, I still sometimes evaluate, well, could I still get Freddie Freeman out? Could I get Dansby Swanson out? Could I get Josh Donaldson out? All these guys that I played with. And the answer is a resounding yes, I can. And so I didn't retire because I ran out of steam. I retired because I felt like I was being called to be a husband and father. And so walking away, John Hart was going to exercise my option for 2018 with the Braves, but just felt like my kids needed me. I had two daughters that were, coming of age and needed a dad around to help supervise that part. Right. And so it was the right time for me to step away. But my body is still in good condition and I feel like I could do it.
That's really powerful testimony and really refreshing, I think, to hear. You probably understand more than the average person does what Tom Brady is talking about. He says, I've got demands at home. I've got a family. I have kids who are getting older, a wife who wants me home. Do you ever, your ears perk up when you hear Tom Brady say some of this stuff?
I do, and to be perfectly honest, I wish there were kind of modalities in place for guys who can see the end in sight to help that transition. And because it can be messy, like, and you're seeing that play out maybe in the public eye a little bit with Tom, but he, who knows the real truth there? I mean, Let's not speculate. Nobody really does, but I will speak from my own story and tell you that, it is hard and it does ring bells when I hear, that he and Giselle may be having some trouble around his retirement, unretirement, because you're torn between two worlds. It's all he's ever known since high school, literally. Right. And that it's hard to do that for a long, long time. You sacrifice much, you get a lot. There's no, I have complete empathy for that piece, but you also, a lot of people have to give up stuff for you to do that. If you have a family in particular.
Yeah. I always marvel at, I'm a relatively new dad. My oldest is 3 and my youngest is 1.5. Olivia's a relatively new mom. And it's one thing when you're kind of working and doing whatever your career dreams are, when it's just you, or even just you and your significant other, it's workable. But yeah, the minute the kids come involved, even if I get offered an acting job these days, my first questions used to be, well, who's in it? Who's starring? Like, who else? And now my question is like, where is it and how long? Because my mind is immediately to how long do I have to be away from my family? So that's a really interesting way to think about it all. I want to switch gears for 1 second because I'm a big baseball fan. I've been watching. This is my first love. There's so many rule changes now kind of going on, and I just would love to talk about someone who's stood on the mound and looked at home plate. We got the pitch clock, 10 seconds. We got the banning of the infield shift. Are these things that ultimately may help baseball long term, or is it getting too far away from the things that we all maybe loved about baseball?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think it just depends on what side of the aisle you fall. If you're a baseball purist, then you're probably going to be standoffish to a lot of the things that are being implemented presently. If you're a new generation watcher, you want the game to be faster and more entertaining, and you want to get in and out in 3 hours. And like, there's a lot to that. Because of, I don't want to get into a big philosophical thing here, but technology wise, we have been groomed to want things very quickly. Information's quick. Things happen quick. We want results fast. And so the game's got to keep up with that if we want to hang on to not so much you probably, Jerry, because you're a purist, but my kids, right? Like my kids, they want it to happen one way or the other quickly so they can move on to the next thing. And that's kind of what we're up against as a industry in baseball is how do you keep some of the things that made baseball so special and so deep and earthy and, have a balance of that and the entertainment piece, keeping people around and engaged. And that's a tightrope to walk. It's hard.
Okay, so those are the actual rule changes. What about all the unwritten rules in baseball? How does it work with a knuckleball pitcher? Did a manager ever tell you, hey, RA, we need you to drill their best hitter? Can you just reach back, fire one into his back? We need this, man.
Yeah, well, I was a veteran for a lot of my career in the major leagues. And so most of the time the manager wouldn't have to tell me when something like that needed to be done. You did that you did that because you knew that was what was called for. And, of course I did that on occasion. And, I was at more risk than most because if you got hit with a fastball from me, you knew it was intentional, right? Because I don't throw fastballs, I throw knuckleballs. And so if I hit you in the back with a fastball, you knew right then that it was the real deal. And so you were probably going to either be aggravated or charged, or you knew that it was just the medicine that you needed to take because of what you did the inning before. It was some combination of all that. But of course, I have had to do that. And I never throw a knuckleball when I hit somebody on purpose. That's for sure.
I'm going to be a tiny bit hypocritical for a minute because I did say I was a baseball purist, but the sort of expanded playoffs, I do think ultimately is just good for the overall health of baseball. Only because we love playoff games, and we love October baseball. Is that something you wish was around, like more playoff spots available? I know I'm being a little hypocritical because I'm a purist, but I love playoff baseball. There's no bet to me. It's up there with any other sport.
I agree with you. I think I do enjoy an extended playoff period with more teams involved. You just got to be careful. You do so much work. You play 183 games and 162 games in 183 days. It's basically what you do. So you've grinded for that long. And if you've put yourself in the right position at the end of that, you want a reward for that. And so you want to make sure that you can fairly do it. But I absolutely 100% agree with you, Jerry, that it's good for baseball and good for cities and good for the industry to have more playoff baseball going on.
So, all right, the knuckleball is such a rare pitch. So few have mastered it. Do you think we'll see another knuckleball pitcher in the MLB again?
I do. It might be me, but it might.
Hey.
It might take some time. I think there's a couple guys in the minor leagues that are doing it, and there's enough of the old school regime still in place. They're at least at the consultant level that they know the value of the pitch. So I do think that there is going to be opportunity. The problem is, guys, it's just the longer that we go without one, the more difficult it's going to be for a club to really give it a chance. You're going to have to be really supernatural with the pitch, because you've got to earn the trust of the front office more so as a knuckleballer than any other pitcher, because they keep waiting for the other shoe to drop no matter how good you are. They just think it's kind of a fluky thing, and they don't understand it, and none of the data or the metrics can really predict it, and that's hard for them to stomach.
Can I also just ask, piggybacking off of that, how do you get to the decision to be strictly a knuckleball guy? How did that even come about?
I think it's just because you no longer are good at doing what you once were good at. So it's a lot of it's just because you're a failure, really. I mean, in truth, and you've got to be okay with that piece. And I think that's what keeps people that have good knuckleballers from being really good, is they still have to hang on to that piece of their ego that made them who they were for so long. In order to be a good knuckleballer, you have to forget who you once were and embrace this new path. And if you can't really do that, it's going to be a hard road to hoe. And so rare is and I'm not saying this because I did it, I'm just saying it's a fact. Rare is the guy who can let go of that ego enough to be able to embrace that he's no longer who he once was. And if he ever wants to have another chance at playing in the big leagues, he's got to embrace this thing that's really hard to do.
Now, you mentioned pitching to your son earlier. Has he shown interest in learning, or not yet, or maybe ever?
Well, I think he assumes that people expect him to do it.
Sure.
And so he toys around with it, but in truth, like for him, he's 6'3", 208. So his hands are too really big.
Right.
And so he can't, your fingers have to be a certain length to be able to put pressure on the baseball in the ways you need to manipulate it. And his hands are just too big. So my goal for him is to teach him how to throw 100, forget the knuckleball.
Yeah.
That'd be so amazing though, if he was in like a big, like 3-2 count, bases loaded.
Oh yeah.
And he just busted out the knuckleball and struck someone out with the bases loaded. That might be if nothing else, you should make that into a movie. That's a great storyline. That'd be incredible.
I know. So we for sure have talked about how to do it well. It's just, he's got to, and he'll pop out a good one every 10 pitches like that we throw on, or we're practicing on the side. He'll throw one good one out of 10, but it would be epic if he threw 8 2/3 innings with a runner on third, and, dropped one in there to end it. That would be awesome.
Oh my God. I could get tears going just even thinking about that. That's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, we've got to look forward to playoffs a little bit. Let's start with the Mets. They couldn't hold on to the division lead, but they still got DeGrom, Scherzer. How do you like their odds in October?
Well, my heart, I'm torn because I grew up a Braves fan, but my best years of my career were with the New York Mets and have incredible relationships with the fans there. So, I love the pitching that the Mets have, but it's going to take more than just that for them to do it. I really feel like the depth that the Dodgers have is good. It's going to be it should be a really good playoffs. Like if you're a baseball fan, this could be one for the ages as far as top to bottom, from the wild card games all the way to the World Series. You're going to get really good baseball, I think.
Yeah. The Yankees were actually the first New York team that had their lead in their division slipping away, and they managed to hold on. But I look at it like, to me, especially in the American League, obviously you could say the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are the odds on sportsbook favorites right now. But I do think it's outside of that. I do think every other team, it's really who gets hot at the right time. I worry about the Yankees because they're so top heavy with Judge and Stanton. Playoff baseball is just different, right? Where I feel like one even hot pitcher could win you a series because you could see them every third day.
Yeah, Jerry, you are really a baseball guy because that is a really astute observation. I feel with the Yankees, they are top heavy, and also most playoff series come down to the bullpen. And so if you can identify the team that's got the better bullpen, you're usually going to find those guys advancing throughout. And so if the bullpen show up for the Yankees, I like them. If they don't, then it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, it's kind of been my concern with the Yankees all year. Kind of last thing for me, I know I'm doing this whole I'm a purist rant. Playoffs being in October, and you start looking around, like there's going to be playoff games in Cleveland. You know, I've spent time in Cleveland. There's going to be playoff games in New York now, and it just gets so cold. So, did you have ideal weather conditions? Would be like a windy October night kind of be that's awesome for you, right?
Yeah, it can be. I need a little, for my pitch, I need a little humidity. So,
right.
If it's a little bit moist and cold, like the way the ball reacts to humid weather, especially with like a 5 mile an hour breeze in my face. I mean, that thing, Bob Uecker's quote, like the best way to catch a knuckleball is to wait till it stops rolling and pick it up, right? So I would be throwing a lot of those types of pitches in that kind of climate. But, I played with Toronto, the Toronto Blue Jays. We were in the playoffs against Cleveland in October, and it was frigid. It wasn't like your adrenaline takes over, and Cleveland fans are, they're tough, so it's not a big deal, but it can get pretty cold.
I want to go back for a second. You said Freddie Freeman was a guy who loved to play against you, but did any hitters ever come up to you and say, "Okay, all right, I'm getting embarrassed. Just give me some advice on how to hit this thing"? Did the opposite ever happen?
No, what I would find was, guys that were going good. We would go into a series and I knew that who their hot hitters were because, you've got all the analytics and the data before you get to a series. And I would see some of those guys on the day I pitch peel out or take their 1 day off a month because they didn't want me to interrupt the way they were feeling at the plate. And so a lot of times I would get that would tell me more than anything. My Cy Young year, a lot of times I wouldn't face the other team's better hitter or their best hitter because they were going well and didn't want me to interrupt what they were doing, which can happen if you let it get in your head. I can interrupt you a hot streak real quick, or I can put you into a hot streak depending on how you look at it.
Well, all right. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I really do hope we get to do this in person one day because I really do want to at least just see I just want to see the grip. I just would love to because I'm a civilian. I just want to, look, as someone like we all just wanted to always know how to do it. So there is a I love that you're a part of the Knuckleball Council. I think that's a thing that we should talk about more. And I beg anyone who makes baseball decisions, do not lose enthusiasm for the knuckleball. And I would love nothing more than to see you toeing the rubber a year to whenever you feel like it's okay to come back. I root for that. I really do. I would love to see it. And I think you could do it. I think you can do it.
I appreciate that. You never know. I thought about it seriously for the last couple months, really, just what it might take to do it.
Wow.
So we'll see.
Wow.
I've got to ask, because you said it would take you a month to get back to real playing shape. What would you do in that month?
Well, a lot of it would just be getting my arm in shape. Like cardiovascularly, I'm fine, but I would have to get my arm able to throw 100 pitches in a game. And so that just takes about a month and a half to do it.
Oh my God. Oof. I would love to see it.
Okay, well now we know. Jerry, maybe you could play in a month.
I can't do any. I will not be, look, if I retire from acting, I will not be coming back after that because that means I can't do it anymore. So, all right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the awesome baseball players that are coming up. And I also look forward to, at least let's make the movie about the kid who throws 100 miles an hour and throws the sickest knuckleball to strike someone out with the bases loaded to win a playoff game. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Jerry, I have done it. I finished season 3. It was fantastic, as advertised, of Entourage. So good. And I got to admit, I'm a little embarrassed to say this. I teared up at one point when Johnny Drama has his new series on NBC and the reviews were horrible. He gets in his car that you got detailed and cleaned, and now you have a new love interest. That's a whole nother story. And then he goes to Arizona and wakes up like in the middle of a canyon, sad, depressed. His career's gone nowhere. And then you all call him to tell him they had 16 million viewers on the premiere episode. And it's such an emotional moment of what's kind of been an emotional season. You've got to tell me about that episode.
Yeah, this was really the genius of Kevin Dillon, aka Johnny Drama, coming to play here, because you had 2.5, 3 seasons of build up to this emotional moment where he finally gets his payoff. And so that episode ends at the Grand Canyon where he screams victory, right? So flashback to when that episode aired on HBO. We were on that year, I think, right before The Sopranos. So that episode ended at the Grand Canyon. Total random episode of The Sopranos, which is a big one. If you haven't watched that one, I won't spoil it for you. That episode of The Sopranos right after ours ended with Tony Soprano at the Grand Canyon. So it was 2 Grand Canyon endings. But yeah, it's like Johnny Drama in success. Everyone has that friend that's like the worst enemy to themselves. He actually had his moment. It was great.
Oh, it was so good. Such a good episode. Another good episode to finish out that season was when you go to Del Mar, the horse races, and you and Drama end up kind of in a pickle. You end up with this horse and he gets arrested. This whole thing. Tell me about that episode, because you said every time you guys go away, you have a lot of fun. And Del Mar is kind of away.
Del Mar's away. And if any of you are unfamiliar with Del Mar, which is right near La Jolla, basically San Diego, what a beautiful track. It's right on the Pacific Ocean. So like you're watching horse races, and then to your right is beautiful, some of those beautiful views you'll ever see. And as I mentioned to you when we talked about the Vegas episode, where there's gambling, there will be bets made. And let's just say in between takes, we were shooting at a real functional racetrack. We were all making bets. I always love long shots. We found the 66-1. And I think my logic was, I looked at Dylan and Connolly and I said, hey, you guys are Irish. This horse is from Ireland. 66-1. Let's go. I think we put like $100 each on it or so. We hit big. We hit big.
Yeah. Did you have to do the same thing that you did in Vegas, drive home, that you were scared to take that much money home?
Well, this was Del Mar, so we were driving. Yeah, I was safe. I was well in my criminal organization, having done nothing wrong, and was able to drive. I was able to drive that cash right home. It's different now, a little more seasoned veteran at this point, Olivia.
Oh, I love your kind of naivete with this with this whole thing. How do I get this cash home? What do I have to look forward to in season 4? I can't wait to start.
So season 3 is all about getting that opus, right? Vince is chasing Medellin and getting that dream movie that's going to validate him as an actor. And I will say it might be a be careful what you wish for season. Let's just say that. Potentially.
This movie's been so cursed. I keep thinking, oh, they're there. Oh, they're not. Oh, they're there. They're not.
As
and then the director's like, I want the whole thing in Spanish.
I have the Medellin poster behind me. So spoiler alert, the movie does get made.
Happen. Yeah.
But you're in for you're now at the apex part of the roller coaster. You might be on the way down potentially.
Okay. By the way, the whole storyline with Adrian and his agent, that whole part just really pissed me off. I'm like, no, don't, not the agent. Not the agent. That sidetrack. But that storyline pissed me off.
Listen, yes, and I'm sure
there's no way that was ending well.
No, and I'm sure somewhere in Hollywood that's probably happened. Although everyone says Entourage was a fictional world, and it was. But I'm sure somewhere along the way, something similar happened to somebody.
Oh, are you hinting at something?
No, not me. No,
not you. Are you hinting? Is his character based on someone?
No.
Oh my God. Off air, I hope you tell me. Although this show, we kind of say it all on air. Are any of the characters based on real people, by the way?
Yes and no. So, obviously it was always technically inspired by Wahlberg and his friends because he really did have entourage and stuff. Obviously, when Adrian was cast, he's never really been mistaken for Mark Wahlberg physically. So it evolved. There is a Johnny Drama out there who was Mark's boy, who was part of his life for a whole time. I think he actually used to do the thing where he picked up his shirt and showed his abs and called them the Hollywood Squares. That was like a real thing. Yeah. And then I think it became Mark's friends. And then once Doug Ellen, the showrunner, was in charge and writing, he merged it with like his group of friends. So we're a bunch of people's childhood friends merged into a HBO character.
Oh my God, so fun. Okay, season 3 was amazing, as they all have been, so I can't wait for season 4.
The Lions Lie.
All right, coming to us live from the Bahamas, from his own wedding weekend, Peter Andreu, you have one understanding bride, my friend, because if this was my husband, weekend of our wedding, forget it. You have to do what podcast? You're going to do what?
I told you, this is not work. I love you guys, so I'm happy to be on here for some time with the parents, so it's all good.
Oh, we love you too. We're so glad you're on. Hey, real quick, Jerry and I were just thinking, we both have gotten married in the past, I don't know, what Jerry? This is my 5-year anniversary coming up.
I just
What's
had 5-year anniversary back in June.
So we are wise. We are experienced. Jerry, what's your top piece of advice for Peter this week?
My top piece of advice is, look, I also, it's very similar to what it's like on an acting set, right? There's the 2 stars of the movie, and there's 1 and 2 on the call sheet, they call them. In this case, your future wife is number 1 on the call sheet. You are number 2, and it's going to be like that for a long time, and it should be. My advice to you is just take 5, even 10 minutes alone, where it's just you and her after you've been married, away from all the people in the party, and just, even if you just sit in silence and stare lovingly into each other's eyes, just have 10 minutes where you just connect and just celebrate. And then you go into the party where you guys will be, justifiably so, the stars of the show. Everyone's going to want to talk to you and eat when you can, because you ain't going to eat. So whenever you see food, eat. That's it. That's all I got.
And my advice is write her a letter the night before the wedding. There's a lot going on, rehearsal dinner, welcome party, all this stuff, people in and out. You feel like you have to entertain everyone. In case the day gets away from you, I like the idea of writing your future spouse a letter that just lays out everything that is the reason you're doing this in the first place. What do you think about that?
Olivia, I've already started writing that letter. So way ahead of you. Someone else gave me that advice too. There will be some things that I add from this week, but I started it yesterday before we left. So, and Jerry, you gave me that advice on your podcast, and that's something we've been talking a lot about, is just get away from the craziness, even if it's, like you said, for 5-10 minutes, just to make sure we're soaking it in, enjoying it, really put things into kind of perspective. So I love it and really appreciate it.
Now I have my wedding gift for you. I'm going to give it to you on this podcast. Are you ready? Okay. Your wedding gift is, this is your last week picking games on this podcast as a single man, quote unquote. So we're going to close the chapter after this week. Whatever happens this week, whether you're up or down, we're ending that part of Peter Andreu on this show, and we're starting the new part next week as a married man, where we're going to start tracking your wins and hopefully not losses, because I just feel like you're going to start seeing the ball a little differently now that you're officially a married man. So this week, you're down a little bit on the show. Not much, a little bit. So this is going to be Peter Andreu's last few little picks here as a single man. However you finish after this week, we're closing that chapter because we're on to a better one, married Peter Andreu. So last week was a little rough. You flip-flopped off one team. It just was rough. It just was rough all around for everybody. This week, how are you feeling in general?
I like this because I was like Big Ten Wisconsin Pete, and now I'm SEC Bama Pete. So I kind of like where we're at.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Oh.
We said it quickly before we started, but it's tough. Couple injuries, especially in that Vikings Saints London game last week. No excuses. We're going to turn the chapter, like you said. This week specifically, so I've done things slightly differently. I really like the Titans -3 at the Commanders. So we're going to put 5 units on that.
Love
one.
that.
I think the Titans, what you saw last week, way more focused effort with Derrick Henry, 22 rushes, 114 yards, touchdown, even got him involved in the passing game. I think they're realizing that's obviously the workhorse they need to get going again. You still need to see a lot from Tannehill. Losing A.J. Brown becomes more and more apparent. So Where does Robert Woods step up? We'll see. But I think, the ground and pound game that's been working for 5, 6, 7 years now with Derrick Henry, you got to get back to that. And the Commanders, their defense, the rush defense specifically, middle of the pack. And I would say they haven't played any outstanding running backs yet. So you got Cowboys, Lions, Jags last couple of games. They haven't played that 1A kind of guy. So I think they'll struggle. Washington as a whole just doesn't look great. So love Titans -3, and I'm putting 5 units there.
Okay, so 10 units overall, half your stack going to Tennessee. What do you got with the remaining 5?
So I'm putting 2 here, but if you want to get a little crazy as a fan, a customer, Lions over 45.5 against the Pats at home. The Lions are literally putting up 35 a game. They're giving up 35 a game. And then you got the Pats who are giving up 24 a game. That is a recipe for another 60-point a game like last week, where the Lions, I think they combined for 94 or 92 points, something crazy. I don't know why this total, well, I do know why this total is 45.5. It's because Pats are without Hoyer and Mac Jones. But it just seems like the Lions can't stop anything. And again, they're going to put up, even without Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of injuries, they're putting up 30, 35 points a game minimum. So don't understand why you would take the under here, especially when it's only sitting at 45.5. I'd say that goes up as the week goes on, probably closer to 40.
The Lions are that wedding cousin. They're a guest. They're a cousin at your wedding. That's like, oh God, Billy's had too many. He's had too much. So just someone go get Billy. Billy's out of control. That's the Lions at the wedding. They're just out of control on both sides of the ball. I like the pick.
Everyone's got a Billy.
I've got like 7 Billies coming this weekend.
I only say the name Billy because my cousin Billy had a few. So I'm not like typecasting all Billies. I'm pulling from my own experience. It was my cousin Billy who was the guy who had one too many. So that's the only reason why I'm pulling from that experience.
All right, Pete.
I think it might be in the name, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I was going to say, third piece of wedding advice, don't be Billy.
Right.
You can't be Billy. You got to be the groom. You got to be the star. Okay, for your 1-game parlay, Colts at Broncos. Broncos really struggling last week. They lost their best rusher, Javonte Williams. Melvin Gordon struggled, 4th fumble of the year, and you are going to really build up a monster parlay here.
Yeah, we skipped one of the games. Do you want to go back?
Oh,
to
you
that
have one
first,
more game left, right? Okay.
Oh, sorry. I thought you did 5 and 5.
5 and that was 2.
5 and 2.
So you got one more game
I'm sorry.
for 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go into whatever one next. What's next?
Vikes.
Oh, right.
Okay.
You want me to just go right?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, and then third game. This is another one that's tricky, but doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Vikings -8 at home. The Bears are bad. They are really, really bad. They're I think the second worst rush defense. And you got Madison and Cook, which seemed unhealthy and looks like he's good with his shoulder injury. Playing against that second worst rush defense. I think the Bears really, really struggle on the road at Minnesota. And they're almost dead last in terms of putting up points too. So they're putting up something like 15, 17 points a game. I don't see how they keep it close. I think the game comes down to Justin Fields and can he score touchdowns, which just doesn't seem likely. So Vikings -8, 2 units there. Feel good about that one as well. Just the Bears are a tough team to watch. They made the Giants look great last week, which is somewhat difficult. Sorry, Jerry, that was a jab at you. I didn't mean that.
Guy doesn't invite me to his wedding, and then he's making fun of my favorite football team. All right. I see how it's going.
Oh, man. Okay, then all that is left is your famous 1-game parlay, and you're building a pretty big one this week for Colts at Broncos. Broncos struggled last week, giving the Raiders their first win of the season and losing their top rusher, Javonte Williams. What do you like here?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's famous yet because I've just missed by 1 or 2 every single week, but I've changed the strategy.
Oh, okay.
So
I like that.
To your point. So to your point, Olivia, losing Javonte Williams, they're obviously going to be a bit more reliant at home in the passing game. So I think Russ and the team, they tighten the ship or righten the ship a little bit. Russ over 170 yards, not a lot to ask for there. Cortland Sutton, first touchdown of the year. I got him 50-plus receiving yards, so I think they get him more involved. Judy, 35 yards. So again, you're really not asking for much around their 2 wide receivers. They're 1 and 2. Mo Alley Cox on the Colts side, getting him more involved last week. 15 yards. Again, that's a catch or two. So again, not asking for too much. And then the last two things more game specific. Broncos -3.5. I think they win at home. Colts do not look good. And the Broncos over 23.5. So total, I think they put up somewhere between 27 and 30 points. Looks like Jonathan Taylor may not be ready to go next week. That toe has been bothering him. That's a plus 550 parlay. So lots of appealing alternate lines, whether it's the alt line on the game, the alt line on the points, or the alt line on some of the player props. So I like that. One unit, $10, take home $65, not too shabby. So hopefully these work out and this new strategy pays some
This
dividends.
is why I love that. We're going to label this one not asking for too much single game parlay. Because the way you laid it out, if we would have laid out that case before week 1 for the 500 million, however many hundreds of millions of dollars Russell Wilson's getting paid to play quarterback with all the weapons he has, we would have been like, wait, over 35 yards, over 107. Like, those were no brainers. And now we've been reduced to saying we're not asking that much for this single. I think those are great picks, but you never know it this is just shocking. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but you got to me because you're right. You're not asking for too much with that single game parlay at all. And who the hell knows what's going to happen with this Broncos team? Clearly, they've cost me some money at some points this year out of how emotional I'm getting.
It's crazy. I mean, you guys talked about it a lot in one of your early segments, how great this division was supposed to be. And we've talked about it too. And look where we're at now. I mean, Chiefs have proved to be legit. Great win last week on the road, but Raiders look awful. Broncos, very, very questionable. Even the game they squeaked out against the Niners.
The Chargers barely held the lead against the Texans. They held on barely. It's like a 30 for 30. What if I was to tell you the NFC East would be the best team in the NFL? It's like a 30 for 30. This is ridiculous. NFL's drunk at the wedding.
There, Billy. Yeah, last week was the Olivia special that you built. This week is the Pete's wedding special.
Yes.
So I think you're going to be a winner.
So I feel good about it, but there's a little bit of tension in the room here because there's a specific game, 9:30 Sunday in London. Someone's Giants versus someone's Pack. The line's at +8 right now. Giants, without potentially Daniel Jones, without potentially T-Mobile Tyrod Taylor. How do you guys feel about that one?
Well, we have a little bet built in of our own. Jerry, you want to tell them about our bet?
Yeah, I got set up. Pete, I'm vulnerable here, and basically the loser for I guess we're honoring all the cheeseheads out there because they're probably going to win. Has to wear for the entire show. Is this the entire show? I think has to wear a piece of cheese on their head, real cheese, not like those little styrofoam cheese heads that we've all loved. Real cheese on their head for the duration of the entire podcast. I might be starting Saquon Barkley as my starting quarterback, and my lovely co-host thinks that this is just fine. So she's gonna put some stinky ass cheese on my head for an entire hour.
How about like blue cheese?
Blue cheese crumbles in this hair.
Yeah, and that hair.
It's awful.
Yep.
It's vulnerable, and I'm gonna totally play it down because I still think the Giants are gonna win, but it'll be fine.
You just grossed out a lactose intolerant guy so bad.
Let's not get Pete feeling a little queasy before his big day. Buddy, congratulations. Not only on having an amazing single game parlay, but also marrying your partner for life. It's going to be great. Peter Andreu, everybody.
Yeah, give Stephanie our love and enjoy every second.
Yeah, will do, guys. Thank you so
Later,
much.
buddy.
See ya.
All right, Olivia, that's going to do it for another episode. Thank you to R.A. Dickey. Awesome interview. Thank you, Peter Andreu, on getting married. It's going to be awesome for you. Giants, Packers, London, cheese bet. It's going to be a good one. I don't like it, but good job by you.
Bet. Can you smell the cheddar? I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
We'll see you guys next week.
I can't wait to go to the game. I will tell you all about it next week. I can't wait.